With that, I'm going to take a moment to introduce our two family speakers. So yesterday, it was just incredible to listen to our families talk about their lived experience. They are the experts on what it's like to live with LGS, and I think it's just mind-blowing when you start to hear the stories and of the strength and the resilience of these caregivers to come up and to share their stories. It is not without consequences, so thank you. But I'm going to introduce two just incredible people that I know and love dearly, and they're going to talk about their experiences with sleep. And I probably could have, we probably easily could have brought up another 10 families to talk about this. And so, I want to bring them up here. So the first one is Jeannie Schnurr, sorry, I can't quite say things this morning. Mom to Jackson, she's going to share their experience living with LGS and the sleep issues that come with it. And then after that, Dale Todd is going to come up and share his experiences with his son, Adam. So give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeannie Schnurr, and my husband and I have 3 children. Jackson's our oldest with LGS. He's 13 years old. Tenley is 12, and Bennett is 8. I'd like you to take a minute to think about something. How many times have you had to function on less than 4 hours of sleep? How many times have you had to do this multiple times a week? Now imagine getting maybe 1 solid night's rest a few times a month for the last 10 years. That's been our reality. Before Jackson, we took for granted the freedom that we had to choose when and how long to sleep. Now we experience frequent sleep deprivation and fatigue that causes negative effects on the whole body. The sleepless nights first started when Jackson was 3 years old. On the eve of Tenley's 2nd birthday was the first time that I watched every hour of the clock roll by. That was over 10 years ago. Jackson has had a sleep medicine provider for years. He's been prescribed multiple sleep drugs that should, quote, knock someone out, but have no effect on his sleep. He was diagnosed with moderate sleep apnea, and he has trialed a CPAP machine. Unfortunately, it caused more sleep disruptions for him because he would not keep the mask on. After a few months, that was discontinued. We have followed a nightly routine and set the conditions for the best sleep hygiene, but it's much more than that. The underlying disruption behind his sleeplessness is the fact that Jackson has seizures mostly while he's sleeping. His EEG cycle is so interwoven with his seizure activity that it causes many disruptions, leading to a never-ending cycle. Jackson tries to sleep, he has seizures, he wakes up, then can't go back to bed. He's up all night, then he's delirious the next day, and it takes a few days to recover from these vicious cycles. I would really like to emphasize the lack of control that we have in our daily schedule. We can do all the right things, follow the same nightly routine, and get completely different results from day to day. Sometimes if Jackson has a seizure at night, that will change the trajectory of the night. He may be wired, he may go into status, sitting up, head dropping, looking like no one is there. And then he may stay awake the entire night. We'll lay with him, try to lay him back down. He'll keep popping up. And he may just stay awake. Sometimes he jumps out of his bed and he just wants to run around his room. Usually behaviors will ensue, such as head banging against the wall to the point of putting holes in the drywall, taking his shorts and diaper off, and urinating on the floor. Jackson has the Courtney bed, a safety sleep enclosure bed that allows us to zip him in, and he also has the Sammy Cam to monitor and record him. However, if left alone, he will yell or moan loudly and pull off the camera, so someone still has to be laying with him if he's awake. On the very rare occasion that Jackson does sleep all night, we wake up wondering if he's still breathing. SUDEP is always on our mind. Imagine trying to have an evening routine. Most nights, we start at 7 p.m. Melatonin at 7, seizure meds at 7:30, and on a rare good night, he starts to get sleepy and he walks us to his room by 8 p.m. During this hour, his siblings are waiting to spend time with us and helping us with chores. Then we move on to spending time with them before they go to bed. What happens more often than not are the dreaded sounds of Jackson moaning, yelling, or the unmistakable thud of him jumping out of the bed. If we're not there within a minute or two, he proceeds to yell louder, then the behaviors get worse. We must quickly stop what we're doing and run to Jackson's room. The saddest part is the look on our kids' faces mid-book and the sigh that they make because they know we likely won't be back anytime soon and their time is cut short again. However, if we get past this point without Jackson waking up, we get to kiss them goodnight, turn the lights off, and move on to the next phase. Many times we can barely get the dishes done before the honeymoon phase of melatonin wears off and Jackson is wide awake again. What most people don't understand is that when Jackson doesn't sleep, one of us, my husband or I, has to be with him. So we take shifts. Intimacy? Well, that doesn't need explaining. If we can't be in the same bed, the struggle is real. When Jackson wakes up, who goes first? Is it mom or is it dad? These are real issues that we deal with. Dad has to get up and be ready for work the next day. Although he currently works from home, he has to be mentally present and focused, which is exceedingly difficult on little sleep. I'm a quote stay-at-home mom who also homeschools our youngest, Bennett, but that doesn't make my job any easier. I still have to go about the day that I had scheduled rather than catch up on much-needed sleep. In order for both of us to get a normal night of sleep, it takes having a caregiver overnight with Jackson. Finding and training a caregiver is a huge challenge. We have primarily relied on our family to help us. We would love it if our neurologists and our sleep medicine providers would be able to collaborate and work on a comprehensive plan for Jackson. We've been told separately many times, if we can get his seizures under control, he'll sleep better. And if we can get him better quality sleep, he'll have less seizures. Well, that's great advice. As you've just heard, Jackson's sleep and his seizure disorders are multifaceted. Sorry, I'm looking at this picture here of my daughter laying with Jackson. That often happens. I hope that this perspective will provide insight to you on the struggle that we go through and the need for collaboration from medical professionals and industry leaders to come up with solutions for parents and patients. Thank you very much for being here today and for listening.
These are tough kids, tough mothers. In fact, we went to the ball game last night, and knowing me, I'd get into a fight right away. The good news, I had 4 LGS moms with me. They cleared out the front row before the cops came, and then Andy Cooper wanted to take the cops on. And so they're tough folks. My name's Dale Todd. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Here's my guy, Adam, my wife, Sarah. We've been at this. Adam was diagnosed at 3.5. Here's his diagnosis. Sleep. Evening meds, 7:30. Same schedule. You could take Adam's name out of this and put Jackson's name in it, and you'd have the same presentation. Early sleep, we're pretty good at early sleep, but at 4:30 in the morning, that's when I'm up working. I'm watching that SAMI monitor. We are in a good place in comparison to a lot of these kids. We've got a little bit of seizure control, but not at this time, not in the morning. Here he is in his room. This is supposed to go. I'm up in the attic, getting my work done. On that SAMI monitor, all LGS parents should have one of these. And the insurance companies and the FDA, they all need to make that happen.
Caesar.
Yeah. That's our morning. I saw a slide yesterday that talked about kids when they're young, more seizures in the day, and then as they evolve at night. That is our pattern. That's Adam's evolution. We only see seizures If we miss a dose, and that's on us, we screw up. If he's sick, something's coming. Or if he's had a seizure that day, that morning, I call it, he's on a short leash. And there's a high probability that we'll see myoclonic activity later on that day. What we do when we hear his breathing, rapid breathing, I might go in and wake him up, reposition his neck so he breathes a little bit better. If we see a lot of myoclonic activity going on, we'll wake him up earlier, and regretfully, he's up for the rest of the day. But if we get past that, chances are we're going to have a good day. I've been hearing this for a long time, these stories. This common denominator between these LGS kids, early morning seizures. And I don't know what it is. Is it as simple as like he's having seizure activity and all of a sudden the good neurons kick in and beat up on the bad ones? But, I'm not a doctor, but I believe there's a correlation between sleep and Adam's seizure activity. And I don't know if it's necessarily about inventing a new med, but I challenge you folks to somehow connect the dots, because there's something going on that we can't figure out. But we know that if these kids get decent sleep, there's a chance that we're going to improve their seizure outcomes. And so, I'm 66 years old. And my worry is who's going to watch that SAMI monitor at 4:30 in the morning when my wife's sleeping. So, I need your help. Thanks. You guys have a good day.